Hello everyone, on today's episode of the 1 Year Life Transformation Challenge, we're going to talk about the psychological triangle of drama and how to end being a victim and become the savior of your own life. Hello everyone, today I want to talk about a very interesting topic, which is the topic of the psychological triangle of drama. This was developed in the 1960s as a way of understanding the repetitive, repeating patterns of victim classes and victim identity, which is a really important place to free yourself from. If you see yourself as a victim, the universe will conspire to manifest illusions that will treat your observation as reality, and breaking out of the victim class is really important. So as always, I'm going to begin with a quote on this topic, and that quote is, "I am a survivor and not a victim. Life isn't perfect. When you get a knock, you have to get up, dust yourself down, and get on with it." Patsy Kensit. And you know, sometimes it can be that simple. We all know about the yin yang. We've had videos on different theories in regards to duality. There's going to be times in life where you're going to be challenged, and the way you see that challenge is directly proportional to how you deal with that challenge. One of the really cool things I want to share with you before we get into a breakdown of the 3 ways to end the cycle of being a victim, we're also going to talk about the psychology triangle of drama, is one of the incredible transitions we've understood in crisis counselling. So over the last 20 years we've had some phenomenal events, and those phenomenal events which have impacted people's lives, in particular those 2 that I'll bring to this video are the 9/11 terrorist attacks and the devastating earthquake in Haiti. Now, a lot of psychological information has been put together, and really since the year 2000 we've understood that the conscious observer and their belief system about what's happened to them is directly proportional to their ability to survive and recover from a disaster. So a very simple tool used by psychologists during the September 11th and the Haiti earthquakes was you're dealing with thousands, if not millions of people who have been impacted by these disasters. And they found one simple tool that would affect those individuals for the rest of their lives after these events. They would meet those survivors, they would talk to them about what just happened, and they would observe their words. If the person who had been through that event had said they had been a victim of the event, the psychologists would very quickly change that word to be, you're a survivor of that event. So rather than a victim, you're a survivor. Now that seems very subtle, but when they come back to these people years and years later, those who are identified as a survivor of the challenge had less post-traumatic stress disorder, had got on with their lives, and actually become more resilient and strong even after the setback that they faced. Now those individuals who had decided that they were a victim of the circumstance had increased levels of post-traumatic stress disorder, lived less fruitful lives, and had less life satisfaction than those individuals who'd been through the exact same circumstances, however, had seen it through different eyes. So learned helplessness is something that comes from your language, and you can change your language immediately. And the beauty of being present in the moment is if you've used bad language in the past, that's okay, that's just an illusion you're telling yourself, and your thoughts can begin now with the new language of empowerment. So what I see with a lot of these remarkable divine entities that I deal with day to day, who if they only knew their true selves wouldn't stress so much, is learned helplessness. And learned helplessness is a very interesting tool. It not only affects the individual, but works on the group consciousness. So the collective unconscious, Carl Jung, Eckhart Tolle, these guys sort of talk about. And learned helplessness is where we either take an individual or a group of individuals. We tell them they are different. We say you are a certain type, you are female, or you are African American, or you are Asian, or you are American Indian, and we break them down to subgroups. And then we tell them because of this, you are different because we've just labelled you. Even though we know that we're all connected and we're all part of this giant ecosystem, we use words to break these people down. And then generally we create stereotypes. So we say, because you are, as an example, African American, we will create affirmative action in order to get you jobs. And it comes from a really good place. It comes from a place of saying, you know, we want to look after the African Americans, for example, who had been treated very, very poorly in the past. But this is a next level of subjugation, because once you tell a group of people they are who they are, therefore they need these things, One group becomes enablers, so they allow these individuals to live that stereotype out because they give them the platform to live the stereotype out. And then in order to embrace this new, this new great thing, which is like affirmative action, which is offered to them, they have to accept that they're victims. They have to accept that there's something less than them, therefore they need extra advantages because of who they are. You can sort of see how we break people down and then we create these classes, and it's all thought forms. None of this stuff exists. We are all individuals and can make individual choices. Probably more relevant to me is men and women at the moment. Men and women are human beings who bring creation into reality. However, at the moment, I'm hearing people say things like, men have created a world where this and this and this have, put women in a certain situation, and men are starting to say, well, women have started this and it's created these situations, and we're breaking people down and we're creating victim classes and we're creating enablers who are saying that's the way it is, we'll create these rules, and we're just limiting individual choice. If you don't like the way a certain group of people are treating you, make an individual choice to separate yourself from those situations and you live your true, authentic life. What's holding you back? Is it the words? Because they're meaningless. So this group labeling needs to stop. If you find yourself talking about groups of people and giving those groups of people labels, you're immediately wrong. I don't care how scientifically accurate you are to say that people who live in Kenya are faster runners than people who live in Canada. Stop doing that. It doesn't serve you. The individual essence, the light that shines from each subjective consciousness in the world cannot be diminished into a group of people. I once heard that a person is smart and people are stupid. And I think it was Dostoevsky who said that the death of 1 million people is a statistic, but the death of one human being is an absolute tragedy. And we can start to see how dictators and governments have stopped looking at individuals and started just framing people as groups like cows and cattle to be pushed into certain areas and to be discriminated against. So how does this work? Well, in 1968, Richard Kaplan, who was a famous psychologist, came up with what's called the Kaplan triangle. Now the Kaplan triangle, which is just here, involves 3 parts. It has the persecutor, it has the rescuer, and has the victim. So the victim is the poor me, the person who's oppressed, helpless, hopeless. The persecutor is the person who the victim believes has created the fault. And the rescuer is the person who comes to say, this is all wrong, I'm here to help you. Now what's super interesting, just like we're starting to learn through this video series on how thoughts and words are simply meaningless and you can break through them very quickly. In order to have a victim, you must have a persecutor. And ultimately you must have a rescuer. In order to be a rescuer, you must have a victim and you must have a persecutor. So these things are all interlinked, and you can start to see how an individual can make a choice to break out of this triangle and it all falls apart. Now what's super interesting about this dynamic, this triangle that you see, is that people take roles and they don't even identify with the role they take. It's this vicious circle where, for example, the rescuer, the person who says there's a victim over there, I'm going to go look after them and fix things, is seen as the persecutor, from the persecutor's point of view, as the person who's persecuting. And you can see how the victim can very quickly see the person rescuing them as the persecutor. So this is an interchangeable triangle which really, once you understand, that involves enablers, it involves people putting you into classes and then trying to identify you in a class, is really the problem. So how do we end this cycle of either being a rescuer, an enabler, a persecutor, or a victim? Well, very simply, we understand 3 fundamental facts. The first fact is, your past does not equal your future. In order to be a victim, you need to identify with some past thought forms. And you need to carry them, remember, you put them on the backpack and you take them everywhere with you. You need to identify with the story of you, the little me. I was born into a race, into a gender, into a religion that's not respected in this country, and I'm going to put that filter, that prism, those goggles on, and every interaction I go through is going to be seen through those goggles. I'm looking for the persecutor, I'm looking for the rescuer, and I'm going to identify with the victim. Your past has no value in this current moment. I'm sorry to tell you that. So many people believe that their past enables them to do things. Your past is an illusion. And your memories are simply memories of your last time you remembered a probably faulty memory which is being manipulated by music, smell, mass media, the emotion you're in at the time, imagery. The present moment is where you take power. The past does not equal the future. If you're a victim in the past, good on you, because that's just a story you're telling yourself, and you have just as much power in the current moment as the most powerful person in the world, at the same time the most impoverished person in the world. Number 2, you can only be a victim in thoughts of the past and thoughts of the future. Think about this for a second. When you're in the moment and you're dealing with something, even if it's not a nice situation, let's say you're being discriminated against, even then that's a thought form. Let's say there's something happening to you where someone is engaging you with anger. Now, when you're in that moment, you're simply responding to the situation. You're not a victim. You're simply responding from the moment you're dealing with what's happening. It's not till later on that you look back and you say, well, I was being victimized. I was being harassed. So, now that I can see that so clearly, the ego is telling you a great story that you can see clearly, I'm going to hold on to that and bring it into me. That's going to get my backpack of stories and I'm going to take it forward with me. And in the future, no one's going to do that to me again, because in my backpack I have a group of collections of thoughts, and that anger and hostility will be projected the minute the triggers that it was similar to that event come out. So we become like this sort of repeating pattern of past anger, emotion, upset, that basically just needs a trigger. We become almost like an automaton or a robot, where you press a button, you get a reaction. And we're far more important than that. We can choose our own destinies at every moment. So whenever you leave yourself into thinking about how things will be in the future regarding your situation, your gender, your type, or how things have been in the past, don't go there. Just drop it and come back to the moment, because you have power in the moment. You can't change what happened in the past because it's not real. You can't change what happened in the future because it's all predictions. You can deal with the current moment. And number 3, remove enablers. There are so many well-meaning people in the world that it sickens me. And what I mean by that is that so many times we forget that the individual we're trying to help is the divine spirit of the universe manifesting light. And we somehow take the role of being the helper, the person who's going to show this person the light. The reality is, ultimately, you two are so linked that it's inseparable. So you need to identify who in your life is the enabler. Who's the person that pats you on the back and says everything's going to be all right after you break down for the 5th time out for texting someone that you shouldn't have texted, or you get into another bad relationship and you have the person patting on your back telling you it's going to be all right. Those people are important. We call them supportive, but it's important to remove enablers from supportive people. The best friends in your life are the people who tell you you're a moron and an idiot, and they can see very clearly that what you're doing is hurting you and you need to do something about it. I said to someone recently who ate a box of donuts, who has a young child, I said, would you let your daughter, your young child, eat that box of donuts? And they said, never. Look at the amount of sugar in it. And I go, that's because you love them so dearly, don't you? And they said, yes. And I said, well, just love yourself as much as you love your daughter, and then you won't eat those sugary donuts that make you feel sick. It's that simple. Come back to yourself. The individual makes the choice. You, more than anyone in the universe, deserves your love and compassion. Don't go looking for it externally. When something goes wrong, you have the power to change it immediately in the moment. Don't start drawing people into the psychological triangle of victim, persecutor, enabler, because it's just a manifesting system that will continually hold you back. You have the power within you. Drama can be fun. In fact, we talk about the ancient Greeks putting on a persona, the mask of a person, acting, and drama can be interesting. However, your true life has enough drama. The moment unfolds with a variety of drama. Going to the past to identify yourself with the victim class, or going to the future to decide on how it's going to play out based on the identity that was labelled to you, is a waste of your awesome time on earth. I hope that you took something from this. I think we all have enablers in our life that we need to shut down. And I think we all sometimes identify with classes of people, whether it's your nationality, whether you're the country fighting ISIS, or whether you are ISIS, or whether you're the Palestinians, or whether you're the Jews. The reality is you're none of that. You are a subjective consciousness projecting reality, and you have the power. The Jews don't have the power. The Palestinians don't have the power. It's the individual right now with the thought form who has all the power in the world to change the present moment. Can't go back and change the past. Can't go into the future and make new things. Speculation, illusion, right now. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Very excited again, but until then, goodbye.